think obviously the first thing that I would like to just say is, our thoughts and prayers obviously to the Steeler community, to the Drake family. They lost a coach last night. It was with the Patriots in 2001. We lost our quarterback coach, Dick Rabine. And, it's tough. It's just getting a routine and, you're used to seeing everybody through training camp, and then one morning you just don't see somebody who's a part of your family. So our prayers and our thoughts are going out to the Steeler community, but the Drake family.
Mike, with A.J. Brown warming up, having a helmet, is this the next step in him returning to play?
I think that's something that Todd and I and Frank, we spent a lot of time on that, just trying to get guys back at the right time, not be overly cautious and not be too aggressive, but just the return to play protocol. And you kind of seen it a little bit with Jarrell, that we're doing stuff continually with them, and you do a little bit one day and then you do a little bit more the next. So, I would say that we're hopeful that, AJ can get out there and do more than what he did today.
You got to rest through the work you did with he and Corey over on that side field?
Again, that's just part of the return to play, that it allows the player and then me as a coach and an assistant coach or a trainer to kind of work those guys through the drills that they're going to need when they come back at their pace. I think sometimes when you just put them in there, whether that be O-line or D-line that I work with, or in this case today, receivers, the pace can kind of be more conducive to these guys coming back and seeing where they're at and then letting them work through some things, as opposed to putting them in here with the rest of the group and the tempo that may look like.
Or is that just
I think that's kind of where we're at with them right now. Having not been out there a few days, I'm inclined to make sure that he's where he needs to be, as opposed to just throwing him back in there. And, we'll reevaluate, and hopefully those guys will be able to do more from what they did today.
Anything from suck up in the preseason, just from a timing standpoint, or is he veteran enough that he can go from day one at regular season and be fine?
Those guys know what they need, and I think they probably, admittedly, would all like to have some preseason work. So we'll see where he's at, whether he can kick in the preseason, and if he can, we'll make sure that he's out there.
How do you handle it from maybe a patient standpoint, and you expect him to kind of
it's hard, having been through it as a player and a young player that's been injured, that hasn't been able to be out there. It's a daily grind of treatment, of meetings, of lifting, of rehab, and you're not playing football at the time, and you're not practicing. So, things are moving on. Installs going in, players are getting reps, and I think he's, we're trying to do our best, and he's trying to do his best to stay focused and remain positive. Everybody wants to be out there, so we'll see what it looks like tomorrow.
You didn't kick the field goal going towards the posts. You did kick the field goal coming towards no posts.
Well, I didn't know if Amy was here, and sometimes there's family. I'm sorry?
Is that so when the miss is bad, it doesn't?
No, if you believe it or not, if you look up there, it's the exact same distance. Amy's balcony is the exact same distance as the goalpost. And so when I saw the family up there, I think Kenneth's family was here, we like to buzz the tower. And then they had already left to come downstairs. So one time everybody was nervous last year. I think it might have been my first OTA or something, and Amy was watching, and I kind of mistakenly just said, we were kicking in the 2-minute drill, and she's sitting up there. I'm like, Ryan, just make sure you kick it over their head, and if you get it on the roof, we'll get Jeb to go up there and get it. But that was just because I saw the kids were up there, and then the next thing I know, they weren't, and I thought they'd like to see the field goal come towards them. I mean, it's Austin. I mean, he's doing his best. He's a punter. We love him as a punter, and we're working through some things with the field goal. But Austin is developing as a punter, and so whether it was that's not the intent that I had. It was just if they kick it over the balcony, it's going to be good.
Is there any element of you that I know you're not out trying to sell preseason tickets, but is there any element of the organization that considers the fact, like you are selling preseason tickets and you don't even have a kicker on the roster?
Well, I think we're always trying to do right by the fans.
If you're lining up for a kick to win the game, you just told us, well, we have a punter.
But he also is kicking. He kicks off. He's developing. He made one the other night, and so we're going to do right by the fans. We do. We try to get our players out there. We sign autographs at the stadium, and the product has to be, reflective of the work that we're putting in. And we started off that way in Philly. Now it's our job to kind of get the work in against the Patriots and kind of carry that through to the next week, and continue to build. And when the fans come out here, we want to go over there and sign every single autograph and take pictures. But we're just always going to try to do right by the fans and make sure that the experience is good.
The secondary coming along, specifically Kareem Orr.
He loves football. He was not, the knock on Kareem was the 40 time. But when we got him for minicamp, he would be in one of those categories of guys that love football. You see him get excited, and you got to play this game with some emotion. You got to go out there and understand we don't want to taunt, but when you cover the guy and bat the pass down, you should have some excitement, and you should love doing that. And so he's kind of shown that early on that he loves football. It's never perfect, but he's fun to coach. I know that Kerry and Dean and Scott Booker enjoy coaching him from that standpoint.
What about his ball skills? Is that something you're seeing a lot, starting to come alive for him?
Yeah, we got to catch the ones that are thrown to him, and in man and match coverage. I've always said that the job is to make sure that your man doesn't catch the ball, and so he's had some PBUs and take advantage of the tips and the overthrows, and then being able to play zone coverage with some competency.
A couple of drops against Philadelphia, but has bounced back the last couple of days of practice. Is that just mentally he's back, or?
Well, you'd have to ask Taywan mentally. It's really hard for me, and I just kind of go by the attitude that I see, the urgency, working on the things, improving on the things that maybe were an area of focus. There was a play yesterday that I'm sure got buried, but sometimes we try to explain to these guys that defenders, they're allowed to face guard up until the point where there's contact. And so if the receiver is just content to continue to run down the field and let the guy face guard him, that's not going to be a penalty. And so Taywan yesterday came back for a ball on third down, which probably from outside would have looked like a drop. But I think he created enough contact coming back for that ball that we probably would have looked at it on the field and also on the film that would have been a PI. So I try to point those things out, like, hey, last week that happened and we didn't come back and attack the ball and we didn't create the contact. This week we got it. We had the situation, we recognized the situation, and you might come back and get a DPI there for 30 yards. So those are the things that I wanted to point out yesterday amid some of the other things that weren't great.
I'm talking to Isaiah Mack, and he did some good things in that preseason game. But
what did he do, Kayla? It was so good. Let me hear him.
The biggest thing that he said was the speed, and that adapting to that speed. He kept on repeating that. Is there anything you guys do, or do they just have to get those live game reps?
You just have to get them. I just remember as a player, like one-on-one pass rush, you get off on the ball, there's a couple steps, and then there's contact, and you make a move, and then, we're reaching for, the offensive assistant or whatever we're doing, trying to finish on the quarterback, and then there's a whistle, and we try to finish. In a game, it's like snap, throw, and you're like, what happened to, the 3 steps in between? And those are things that I remember as a player. So it certainly does speed up, and that's why these reps and against the Patriots in practice are going to be critical, and then the reps in the game are always critical.
How much will the playing against?
How much is camp and how much is what?
How much is camp, whether it's Taywan or a young guy especially, about how you handle the ups and downs?
Well, we're all trying to be a little bit more consistent, and me included. To try to be the same person every day, and also try to have the same performance every day and have the same attitude and the same urgency. And for receivers, that's all about the trust from the quarterback and being where you're supposed to be, and the details of the route versus man versus zone. For linebackers, those change each and every day. So training camp's important, practicing is important, getting your body ready to play in a regular season game is very important. Or conditioning is very important.
How much is the Patriots coming in, the team that's kind of set the standard for the league the last 15, 20 years, a measuring stick for where your team is as far as going through camp?
I'm not trying to measure us up against the Patriots on Wednesday or Thursday. Really just trying to get some good work in with Bill. We have a good relationship. Getting things accomplished that both of us want to try to see throughout the course of the week, and then we'll evaluate the performance on Saturday. But I don't know, if we're going to be measuring anything or having some power ranking after the 2 days of practice.
Emotion and love of football that somebody like Kareem Orr brings. How difficult is that to maintain at like this time of year when it's hot and you're 10 or 12 days into camp?
You'd have to ask the guys. I can only speak for me as a player. You kind of get into these dog days of camp where you play on a Thursday and you don't play till a Saturday. I would say as a head coach now and as a player, I'm conscious of these 3 days here before the Patriots come in, because I think that's something that's going to get us going again. But we need tomorrow what we did today, not what we did yesterday. And so, I think you're conscious of it. And if you got a little bit of juice that day, we ask you to bring somebody along next to you that maybe doesn't, that maybe has to take a few more reps or whatever the situation. And hopefully that the guys that do have some juice can bring along the guys that maybe aren't feeling it that day or feeling it that period.
Guys that love football, are there telltale signs that you can see when a guy doesn't love football that's out here?
Well, man, they get tired. You stop hearing them. They take plays off. They miss assignments. They don't finish. You just don't feel them at practice. They're out there, and they're maybe running a play, but you don't feel them. There's not an urgency to them. There's not a suddenness to them, but it usually ends up showing.
I think you've had CFL guys here. I know you had Daryl here the last couple of days from the XFL. Is that kind of just part of it, that you want to increase the opportunities for guys who are here who might not end up here in the long run?
I think it's twofold. I think they want to come and evaluate, and then they obviously want to watch guys. And so, John handles that side of it as far as other leagues that want to come in and watch, whether it be the Canadian Football League or, in this case with Moose Johnson with the XFL. So, I think that would be a much better question for John. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that they come, and once we start practice, as long as they're not interfering with practice. We're always trying to have coaches here and people come, whether it be college coaches in the spring or anybody that we can try to learn from, or they can get something from us.
How useful a system is the catapult, the computer system that the players wear when monitoring their health and things like that for you?
I think we've gotten better at that. I think we've tried to move around some of the numbers that we use to track that stuff. It tracks like walk. We could walk around the field. If we put it on you guys and you walked around the field, it would come back and say, 2,500 yards, and all you did was walk. So I think you have to be careful of that, but it does do a really nice job of tracking the speed. And so we're always mindful of when the yardage gets higher at those higher speeds for that position, that's kind of what we're concentrating on. But we just, we have to do our best to use technology to help the player and to help the way we structure practice.
We've seen AJ come back. We've seen Jarrell come back in limited basis. What's the evaluation process been like for Jeffrey Simmons and how you've seen him progress?
Good. I enjoy working with him. That's part of my job, is to try to go over there and help with the rehab. He's gotten just his comfort level with this team and these players has gotten really good, considering that he's not out there practicing. And then sometimes that can be hard to do. But he works hard. He's in early. He's staying late. He's staying on top of everything that we're asking him to do. And I just enjoy working with him. And then as he continues to progress and we hear from Todd and the doctors that he can do more, then we'll start to do more with him.